Week 6 of this Prismatic Draft League season. It definitely feels like we're heading into the home stretch of the regular season, even though there are still 2 more weeks after this one, and a lot left to be decided for a lot of teams. I'm going to skip the standings this time because there's still that one outstanding set from week 5. Hopefully that'll be done in time to be reflected in the standings update in Friday's video, but we're just not going to worry about it in this one. So that does mean I'm going to go straight to the matchup. And I'm going to try to keep the team builder section more concise than I usually do this time. Kind of feels like I could probably maybe want to do that more often, but in this case, there's just not that much to say about the team that I'm bringing. And also, I am recording this probably only a couple hours or so before we play, so I do sort of have that hard deadline coming up. Usually I don't even record both parts of these on the same day, but I've been lagging a little bit in my team building this week, so here we are. Anyway, we're playing the Varsity Farmboys. They, of course, got a new coach last week and have a roster of Scizor, Reuniclus, Male Meowstick, Hisuian Sneasel, I almost said Galarian Sneasel, Lowkicks, Lantern, Lampent, Hisuian Electrode, Dragalge, Quadsire, and Nianfu. I don't know why that Electrode is so enormous, but I guess that makes it all the more threatening. Like I said, new coach for the league, and I think they're still in the process of getting comfortable with this team. That said, it is a pretty scary team to try to figure out game plans into, because there are a lot of different angles from which it can attack, and like with a lot of teams in this league, it's kind of hard to cover for everything. The most obvious thing, probably because they focused on it last week, is the Trick Room mode with Reuniclus, and then they can run Clodsire as a Trick Room attacker. I don't know Lampent's special attack stat off the top of my head, but Chandelure's is very high, so Lampent's is probably reasonable, and it can probably play nicely in Trick Room. And you can use Male Meowstick to set screens like they did last week, and to set manual Psychic Terrain. And then Reuniclus can click Expanding Force and blast through opposing teams. But they do also have strong and fast physical offensive options with Scizor, Sneasel, and Lowkicks. Scizor is not so fast, but it and Lowkicks both get strong priority attacks. They have a strong, tanky special attacker in Dragalge, which also is fairly slow and can play nicely in Trick Room, as well as behind screens. They have support available from the Mienfoo and the Electrode. The Lantern is, I don't know, it's a water type, so it certainly brings that to the table for this team. It's a little bit on the bulky side. Not amazing stats. We've seen it not hit very hard in earlier weeks this season, but it can definitely contribute in some matchups. But yeah, mostly when I look at this team, I'm thinking about 3 things. The Trick Room mode, probably with manual size spam with Reuniclus and Meowstick. The physical offense from Pokemon like Scizor, Sneasel, and Lowkicks. And the Hisuian Electrode just being the fastest Pokemon in the game, tied with Cantonian Electrode, which I don't think is on anyone's roster, meaning that I can't just outspeed everything. It's not going to work that way in this matchup. The other thing the Meowstick can do, we saw it run Rain Dance last week, so it can turn off my Strong Sunlight if it wants. So my process, like I said, I got kind of a late start, kind of a sluggish start on building for this week, and I started off just kind of brainstorming a few Pokemon that I thought looked useful here, and then figuring out supports for them along the way. I did make some changes to what Pokemon I was bringing over time. But we are starting once again this week with the Quiver Dance Pom-Pom Oricorio. After it put in so much work last week, the opponent will probably be alert to it. So it's maybe not great that I'm leaning heavily on it a second week in a row, but I do think it is just one of my best Pokemon in this matchup. If I wanted to deal with the Size Spam mode and special attacks coming from Dragalge, getting rapid special defense boosts with Quiver Dance seems very helpful to that end. And then on the physical side, Oricorio actually has a pretty good defensive type combination for this matchup. It resists the Bullet Punch from Scizor. It resists First Impression from Lowkicks. Not that that really matters when Lowkicks has Tinted Lens, so it kind of hits just as hard anyway, but at least it's not weak to that. Lowkicks, of course, can also bring the Sucker Punch. It resists Close Combat from Sneasel, although not the Poison Stab, and maybe not some other coverage it might bring. But even just resisting Scizor's Bullet Punch is, I think, pretty valuable in this matchup. And Oricorio doesn't have a whole lot in the way of exploitable weaknesses into my opponent's team. It's also immune to Clodsire's Ground Stab. There are just a lot of nice little things that this defensive typing does in this matchup. So probably game plan number 1. going into this matchup. Even though it's a little risky doing it a second week in a row, I do think it's just sort of the best thing that I have to throw at them this week. It is try to get this Quiverdance Oricorio going, and I do have Quiverdance Lilligant once again. That's going to be the next Pokemon here. I like the Citrus Berry for a little bit more survivability, especially when I'm not running a ton of bulk on this Oricorio. I have some special attack investment that just kind of bumps up some calcs a little bit. I believe with 116 special attack EVs, Air Slash is a favorable roll to 2-hit KO max HP Dragalge after 2 Quiver Dances. And it has a chance to 2-hit KO max HP Reuniclus. I mean, these are the kinds of things that we're dealing with, right? Oricorio can set up very quickly with Quiverdance and Dancer. The downside is it just doesn't have very good stats or very good attacks to throw off, so it's not going to hit very hard with that Air Slash. But I've given it enough special attack investment to make some calcs a little bit more interesting. Enough speed to outspeed Electrode after, I think, 1 Quiverdance. Maybe it's 2. I think it's 1. And then the rest just into HP for a little bit more survivability with the Citrus Berry as well. I was thinking about defensive Terra types to resist the priority attacks for low kicks, but then I checked some calcs and remembered that Tinted Lens makes that kind of pointless. That said, with Terra Dark, what does that do? It is immune to the Expanding Force from Reuniclus and Meowstic, but I do believe I had something else in mind for it as well. Maybe... well, hopefully it'll come to me. But yeah, it certainly doesn't... But Oricorio's typing is already pretty solid before Terra, so I don't think it's super likely to Terrasilize it. Oh, it's immune to Prankster Disruption from Meowstic, so that's something. But I think the main thing is the Psychic Immunity, and maybe there's something else I was trying to cover for. I was also just trying not to open up too many weaknesses into low kicks, although this is weak to Bug. You can at least play around First Impression with Protect. Quiverdance, Air Slash, Roost, and Protect. Again, Roost helps it survive a little bit longer. If I have Lilligant on the field next to it, then I can potentially use Quiverdance and Roost in the same turn, just as I can potentially use Protect and Roost in the same turn. And Air Slash is the only attack. It's only resisted by Lantern on the opponent's team, and I don't think it's especially likely that they bring Lantern, but that said, it is not very strong. That is the one downside with Oricorio. Already leaked to the next Pokemon. Lilligant is here. It has a Covert Cloak so that they can't stop it from getting a Quiverdance or Sleep Powder off with Fake Out. That way I can Protect with Oricorio and Quiverdance with Lilligant, and even in front of Fake Out, I still get both of my Pokemon boosted. Terra Fire turns... Again, resistances aren't that important with the Tinted Lens, but it does turn the Bug weakness into a resistance against low kicks, and more importantly against Scizor. That one does matter because Scizor doesn't have that ability. So that is the main thing that it does... in this, I'm having a little bit of trouble remembering what my Terra types are for. Yeah, I think that's the main thing for Terra Fire. It's also just a good defensive Terra type. It covers for things like Lampent, but yeah, mainly like resisting Scizor's bug attacks and at least not being weak to low kicks' bug attacks is why I chose Fire specifically. It does have Chlorophyll. I am bringing Sun this week. I'm not going to be very dependent on Sun because my opponent has such an easy way to disrupt it, but I do have that ability available with enough speed investment to... again, outspeed Hisui and Electrode in Sun without while avoiding speed ties with my own Oricorio. Sleep Powder is here largely to try to deny Trick Room if I see something like a Reuniclus lead. I mean, if it's Meowstic Reuniclus, then it's hard to say which one is clicking the Trick Room, but if I get the opportunity to Sleep Powder Reuniclus and deny Trick Room, I certainly would like to. I have After You available so I can get a fast eruption with the Torkoal that's coming up in a moment. And then Lilligant doesn't really have much offensive presence into my opponent's team. Like, the Grass Stab is not very valuable into Pokemon like Scizor, Low Kicks, Dragalge, Lampent. Just a lot of their team resists grass. The Mono Weather Ball could be a little bit interesting, but again, they have a lot of coverage for that defensively. So I decided I do want an attack on Lilligant, but it's not that important what it is. Might as well just run Pollen Puff, and then I can use it to heal my allies, more likely than actually using it to attack, though I do have the option to do non-zero damage. Up next is that Torkoal. Torkoal is carrying the Power Lens this week because this is a rare matchup where Torkoal is not the sole slowest Pokemon. It actually has the same base speed as Clodsire, so I avoid the speed tie with the Power Lens, which is an item normally only used for EV training, but it does lower Torkoal's speed. Maybe I should run room service, actually. I originally chose this item with the intention that I would have my own trick room setter. That was something I had in the first concept for this team, and I am, in fact, not bringing my own trick room now. So I actually do think I'm going to change that to room service, because that way I have a chance to speed tie with Clodsire outside of trick room, and that can, that can only be favorable to me. So Power Lens would have been fun. We'll keep it in the video, but I think it's actually going to be room service in the game. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. Drought, Terra Fire, big damage, pretty standard Torkoal set. The big spread fire type damage with Earth Power to cover for mostly Lampent and I guess Dragalge. Nothing here you haven't seen before except maybe the Power Lens, and I have now, I think, talked myself out of actually keeping it here. Haunter is showing up for its second week with the team, running that Focus Sash again, so it'll take a little bit of extra work for the opponent to get rid of it. Max speed so that it outspeeds Low Kicks. And then if Low Kicks goes for the Sucker Punch, I can just click Will-O-Wisp and burn it if it connects. We haven't done great at landing status moves so far this season. That's actually an issue for Lilligant, trying to use Sleep Powder to deny Trick Room as well, but hopefully our luck turns around here. Maybe missing 3 overheats in a row last week was the low point, and it's all uphill from here. We can only hope. But that's the idea. Outspeed Low Kicks, so if it goes for non-priority Dark Attack, it gets burned first, and if it goes for Sucker Punch, the Sucker Punch fails and it gets burned. Otherwise, Shadow Ball is just a good neutral coverage attack into my opponent's team, except again into the Low Kicks, but I have that Dazzling Gleam to cover for that, or for a random Terra Dark, or for... just for the sake of having spread damage on the Haunter if I need to hit more than one target in a turn for some reason. Will-O-Wisp is also nice into Scizor and Sneasel, and it makes it that much harder for those Pokemon to do anything about Oricorio setting up with Quiver Dance, assuming I do go for a Quiver Dance mode. So I have the Quiver Dance itself to mitigate special damage, I have Roost to heal damage and the Citrus Berry, and then I have Will-O-Wisp on Haunter to mitigate physical damage as well. And the Terra Fairy also resists Dark, so again, resistances don't mean that much into Low Kicks, but it does at least turn off that weakness into something like a Sucker Punch. For the last 2 Pokemon, like I said, I've changed some things around a little bit since I started brainstorming this team, but up next is Gastrodon. It is running that Rindo Berry that feels like it's just my default item on Gastrodon at this point. I do think that I want to still bring different items on Gastrodon sometimes. I don't want to lock myself into the same one every week, but I've been sniped enough by random grass coverage, like that Seed Bomb Donphan that still kind of haunts me, that I feel like I have to have a good reason not to bring a Rando Berry on Gastrodon at this point. Gastrodon, I was just going to go super bulky with it, but I ran some calcs, and this specific spread I think should pretty much take every notable hit from the opposing team at least once. I needed a fair bit of special bulk investment, even with the Rindo Berry, to take a Chloroblast from the Electrode if they train that to hit hard enough. But yeah, once I had the sassy nature and those HP and special defense EVs in, I didn't find that there was anything else that I really needed to cover for, and so getting that little bit more damage on Gastrodon's attacks I thought was more valuable. Just threw the rest of the EVs into special attack. Terra Steel gives it another way to survive grass type attacks once the Rindo Berry is gone, or as an alternative to it. I just sort of checked all the grass resists against the opponent's team to see what would open up the fewest weaknesses. Obviously, well, I don't know if that's the right way to put it. Obviously, Terra Steel is weak to Sneasel and Clodsire, but it does nicely cover for some other things like Scizor, Dragalge, yeah, mainly those. So I think as defensive Terra types go, it's a pretty solid one. And it also means that Gastrodon can't be poisoned after it's terrestrialized, which, depending on how they play something like the Dragalge, could potentially be valuable. I was thinking about, I always have that question, do I go 3 attacks Gastrodon, or do I drop one of the attacks for something else? I didn't see a ton of value from Muddy Water in this set. It is nice for spread damage, but otherwise I think Earth Power and Ice Beam pretty well cover most of what the opponent can throw at me. And with Yawn, I have a little bit more flexibility to use Gastrodon to help enable something like the Oricorio setup. Buying turns for Oricorio to get more Quiver Dances, or at least just not take too many hits too quickly. I think it's most likely, obviously everything's subject to change depending on what I see at preview, I think it's most likely that I bring Oricorio, Lilligant, Torkoal, and Haunter in some order, at least to game 1. But I do have the Gastrodon available to mix in, and it can attack in its own right, and it can also, it can offer support with that Yawn, so it can play nicely in multiple modes. And as for attacking with the Gastrodon, obviously just 100 special attack EVs does not hit very hard, but I do once again have a way this week to give myself that Storm Drain boost. I am finally bringing Froakie off the bench. Little bit of an Easter egg here. A couple days ago, I think, I was joking around on Discord. It might have just been yesterday, actually. I think it was. That I was going to bring Froakie. I was joking around on Discord in full view of my opponent. That I was going to bring Froakie. Nobody let them know, please. Don't make them prep for Don't get them to prep for Froakie. I don't want them to know. And then at the time, Froakie was actually not in my plans at all for this week. And after those jokes, I actually did then decide to bring it. Totally unrelated. But now it looks like I was intentionally telling the truth about bringing Froakie, when in fact I wasn't at the time. Anyway, so Scarf Froakie is something that I've wanted to bring at some point all throughout the season so far. It does basically two main things. It uses Surf to boost Gastrodon as a fast way to do that without needing Slowking to set up Trick Room if it wants to go before Gastrodon. But it also, you saw the Trick Scarf Bayonet in week 3. That was an adaptation of one of my other original ideas for Froakie, which is Switcheroo Choice Scarf. Froakie is reasonably fast with a Choice Scarf. It's not the fastest. I have 252 speed EVs here because that is enough. That is exactly enough, I think, to outspeed max speed Sneasel, but hitting Electrode speed calcs is just not a thing for Froakie, so Sneasel was the next best target. I have Terra Ghost so that it can't be faked out, even though I'm not running Protect here, if I Terrastallize it. I don't think it's very likely that I will. I don't even think it's very likely that I'll bring Froakie to a game, but I do have that option. And then, yeah, Surf is mainly to boost Gastrodon. It also does some damage, but I have to watch out for using it around my allies. Icy Wind gives me damage that doesn't hit my allies, and a little bit of speed control. Switcheroo, I should say the main reason I'm bringing Froakie is actually the Switcheroo, because that Choice Scarf can be extremely disruptive to Pokemon like Meowstic in particular, even Reuniclus to an extent. If it's going for Trick Room, it's not going to like the Choice Scarf. A lot of my opponent's Pokemon, some of them might be able to benefit from the Choice Scarf and kind of flip things around on me if I'm not careful, but a lot of them, depending on their sets, could have their lives made at least somewhat more awkward by it. And certainly getting the Choice Scarf into Meowstic or probably Reuniclus in at least one of the games could do a lot to put me ahead. For the third move, I was thinking about Hydro Pump so that I have a water type damage option that doesn't hit allies. That might have been the more sound play, but once again, I'm kind of interested in mitigating physical damage, given that I'm probably leaning heavily into Quiver Dance setup this week, so I have the Will-O-Wisp on Haunter, and I have also decided to bring Scarf Growl Froakie. I think the chances that I bring Froakie to a game are pretty slim. I think the chances that I ever click a Growl are especially slim, but I do have that spread attack drop into my opponent's Pokemon if I want it. But I think if Froakie comes to a game, it's with Gastrodon, and I'm clicking either Switcheroo or Surf, probably almost always. Anyway, that's the team for this week. Like I said, maybe a little bit more similar to last week's team that I'm comfortable with, but I do think the Oricorio is the best threat that I have into this particular matchup, and I do think it's pretty funny that after I joked around about bringing Froakie when I had no intention to, I later changed my mind and actually did bring it. Like I said, I'll be playing very soon, sooner than I'm used to when I record these parts, so even for me, not much time will have passed when we skip to the battles right now. Alright, yeah, battle time, right on schedule. I have made the Torkoal item change. Unfortunately, that loses some style points, but I think it's a little more optimal. Anyway, no Electrode. That's kind of nice. We do see Meowstic, Reuniclus, Sneasel, Regalgy, Clodsire, and Low Kicks. So it looks like Trick Room stuff, but they do have fast physical offense as well. Can I just lead Lilligant or Oricorio into this? That is kind of what I want to do. It's weak to Low Kicks a little bit. Oh, I don't have Protect on the Lilligant. I probably should have put Protect on Lilligant to cover for that Low Kick's first impression. I could lead Haunter or Oricorio. Then I can click Will-O-Wisp into Sneasel. I think I just bumped the mic. I can click Will-O-Wisp into Sneasel or Low Kick, so I can get one Quiver Dance. Torkoal in the back. Because that doesn't give me ways to deny Trick Room. But I do still want to bring Torkoal into the likely Trick Room setup. And then I can still bring Lilligant, or I could bring Gastrodon. Gastrodon is slower than Dragalge, so that's something. I think I'm talking myself out of Lilligant this game. Maybe I shouldn't be, because even if they set Trick Room, I can play my way out of it. Well, okay, let's do Haunter, Oricorio, Torkoal. Yeah, it's either Gastrodon or Lilligant. I think it's going to be Lilligant, but I can think about Gastrodon for game 2. Okay, Low-Kicks and Meowstic lead. So they can fake out Oricorio, but not Haunter. I think I will just Will-O-Wisp into Low-Kicks immediately. I kind of want to click Quiver Dance, but I think I should cover for the... are they going to have fake out? Let's just live a little dangerously here. Quick Quiver Dance. Okay, first impression into Haunter. That does so much damage into a double resistance. Of course, it's like no bulk Haunter. We also see Life Orb on the low kicks, but I have burned it now. They actually just take the KO on Haunter, so Oricorio gets some free setup there, and now I can get Lilligant in, and I can Quiver Dance Air Slash into low kicks. Do I need to worry about that when low kicks is burned? Maybe I just double Quiver Dance here. Or I can Sleep Powder Meowstic and Quiver Dance. But I'm really not running much speed on Lilligant, so Meowstic could very well be faster. It also just has the Prankster anyway. And I'm not really that threatened by an attack from it. Maybe I want to attack low kicks anyway, because it could probably still do a lot to Lilligant with something like a U-turn. So I'm going to Quiver Dance Air Slash low kicks. They Light Screen. Low kicks is still knocked out, and I get another boost on Oricorio here, and also on Lilligant, so that's nice too. Okay, and it's Reuniclus. I think I am just going to go ahead and click a Sleep Powder into Reuniclus. They could use Trick Room with Meowstic still, but if it is Reuniclus, even if it's not Reuniclus, right? Unless it clicks Protect here, or it has Terra Grass or Safety Goggles. There are multiple ways they can stop Sleep Powder, but if they don't have one, then even if they get the Trick Room up, then the Reuniclus is not so readily attacking. And they could have Psyshock. I was thinking I'll just keep Quiver Dancing with Oricorio. Even if they have Psyshock, though, I can Terra Dark. I am going to Quiver Dance this turn, at least. Sleep Powder Reuniclus. It has Overcoat. I forgot it gets that. I'm just so used to Magic Guard. But they don't set Trick Room this turn. They just double attack into Lilligant. So here I'm going to Quiver Dance with Lilligant. Or I could Sleep Powder Meowstic. But I think I'm just going to Quiver Dance with Lilligant and Air Slash Reuniclus. Start getting damage on that while still boosting Oricorio until Lilligant goes down. That does decent damage, actually. Okay, Psychic and Expanding Force. There's still no Trick Room, which is a little bit awkward when Torkoal is slower than both of these. But I think I'm down here to just... I'll protect Torkoal this turn and Air Slash Reuniclus. Preserve Torkoal for now, but look to land at least a Heat Wave with it after. I still don't know what their last Pokemon is, but... yeah, part of why I liked Oricorio so much in this matchup... oh, okay, that's an unfortunate miss. Part of why I liked Oricorio so much in this match... oh, that's a really unfortunate miss. Part of why I liked Oricorio so much in this matchup is that it matches up so well. You know, they have Fighting type, Special Attacker, Ground type. There's not a lot that they can throw at it that's very threatening. Okay, I've used Protect on Torkoal. I'm probably not ever terrestrializing Oricorio. I don't think there's a Psyshock coming out, but... so I could Terra Fire Torkoal for extra Heat Wave damage here, but given that I don't know what their last Pokemon is, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious than that. They're probably going to attack Torkoal because they're threatening it big time after it is protected. So I'm not going to Erupt here. I'm just going to click Heat Wave. And I'm actually going to go Air Slash into Meowstic, try to deny another Light Screen once this one's up. I don't know whether it has Light Clay. Yeah, they Psychic Torkoal. Torkoal goes before Reuniclus. Okay, so they're setting Trick Room here. No. They have a Power Lens or something on Reuniclus. Interesting. Okay, it is not Light Clay Meowstic. That means it does actually have one more chance to set Light Screen. A little bit unfortunate, but... If Torkoal is faster... I'm just going to protect for now. Meowstic drops to burn damage. I can get damage on Reuniclus. No, I'm gonna Heat Wave. If Torkoal is faster than Reuniclus, then I can get the attack off first, and if Meowstic prioritizes a light screen or something instead of attacking again, this is probably Torkoal's best chance to still do damage when it has so much damage on it. Will be knocked out so soon. Obviously, my Pokemon are dropping more quickly than theirs, but they haven't proven that they have a threat into Oricorio at this point, so this is... A lot might come down to what their last Pokemon is, but this... It should still be possible to win this, at least. Terra Fire on the Reuniclus, okay. And they do get the light screen back up, so this Heat Wave won't do a whole lot. Nope. Meowstic was going to go down to burn damage there anyway. We do get an Air Slash flinch, though. I think I'll call that even after I missed an Air Slash earlier. And we see that the last Pokemon is Clodsire. So Torkoal... If it's min speed Clodsire, it speed ties with Torkoal. Otherwise, it's faster. I'm just going to Heat Wave. And Air Slash Reuniclus again. Okay, they protect. What does Clodsire go for? Might still be able to win this game. Sludge Wave. Okay. That's good. That's special. So it hits Oricorio's boosted special defense. We'll see if it's a mixed Clodsire or something. They could also win with a crit. Probably. That actually did pretty reasonable damage, but yeah. I'll just kill a turn of Light Screen here. And then Air Slash. Light Screen will fade. I get the Citrus Berry, so now that's revealed. Probably not a big deal. One more Air Slash, and we take game 1. Okay. Now, what do I want to do in game 2? Oricorio went crazy there. Can it do it again? Honestly, probably. It doesn't seem like they have very much for it. The special Clodsire is really good to know. Do I do Froakie lead in game 2? Probably not if they're going for big first impression plays. I mean, they did that in game 1 and it didn't really work out, so I'm not sure they will do it again. But I mean, Haunter Oricorio is a pretty flexible lead into this team, right? I can Will-O-Wisp Sneasel. I can Shadow Ball something. I think I'm down to just bring that again. The Lilligant was really good in game 1. Maybe I just bring the same mode and make them prove that they can beat it. But also, they never went for Trick Room in that game, which makes me think maybe I'm a little bit better off with something like Gastrodon instead of Torkoal. So yeah, I'll bring Gastrodon to this one. We'll see how they adjust. Gastrodon is also min speed, but higher base speed than Torkoal. It is still slower than Dragalge, but good chance it's faster than Clodsire. And yeah, higher base speed than Reuniclus as well. Although if they're not setting Trick Room, then maybe they don't have min speed on their stuff. Maybe Torkoal is better. The other thing about Torkoal is I don't have much speed investment on Whirligant. It kind of just depends on Chlorophyll to go fast. I'm going to try this anyway, though. I'm up 1-0. I have a little bit of room to mix things up at least a little. If it's not lead low kicks this game, then maybe I do think about Froakie for a possible game 3. I don't know if I really want to put my hopes for the set on Froakie, but it would be funny. And actually, that Choice Scarf into the switcheroo Choice Scarf into Meowstic or Reuniclus could. I mean, the Reuniclus has been mostly just attacking anyway, but it could be pretty disruptive. Even low kicks would probably not love being locked into first impression, but no, I think Froakie just drops to an attack from low kicks if we see that lead. But yeah, to Reuniclus or Meowstic, it could be fun, but not this game. We're not doing that this game. But yeah, Haunter. I don't know if they'd let me just burn the low kicks again, but burning Sneasel would be good, or Shadow Ball. I mean, I'm just repeating myself now while I wait. I don't really need to do that. Okay, just as I was starting to figure out what else to say, we are getting going here. It is Meowstic low kicks lead again. I kind of think I do want to protect Oricorio turn 1 this time, because I think that might be the target this time for the first impression, and if it did so much to Haunter last game, I do worry about what it would do to Oricorio. They actually do fake out this game, okay. Ah, but I missed the Will-O-Wisp. A bit unfortunate. Go knock off. I'm just going to go straight for that Will-O-Wisp again. I have Roost, and I haven't shown that yet, so I'm not too worried about losing the Citrus Berry, but yeah, better land that Will-O-Wisp this time. That's what it comes down to. There's nothing I want to switch in to take the knockoff. The Will-O-Wisp attempt 2 is obviously pretty predictable, but I don't want to let low kicks get away with calling that it doesn't happen. So it is happening. I mean, Will-O-Wisp into anything is nice. It's not even Magic Guard Reuniclus, so it's residual damage into everything at the very least. You do get the burn on low kicks. Yeah, see, that knockoff still does so much after the burn. Obviously, it'll do less now because Oricorio doesn't have an item, but I think I'll just Dazzling Gleam here since I didn't take the KO on Haunter. And I'll go for another Quiver Dance. I don't think they're threatening an immediate KO into Oricorio. Unless there's something I'm missing. They switch out to Dragalge. Okay. Is it Trick Room? Is it finally Trick Room? Because that could make things interesting. No, they just Psychic Haunter. Okay, knock it down to a Sash. I think I'll reveal the Roost on Oricorio here. Maybe I can just Quiver Dance again, but yeah, I think that's all right. I'll just get what damage I can with Haunter, so I'll just Shadow Ball the Meowstic and Roost. Let Haunter go down, get somebody else in safely. Imagine if I had Destiny Bond. I didn't think of that one. That would be kind of neat here, though. Oh well. Haunter gets an incredible number of good moves. Can't run all of them. Can't even run very many of them. But Destiny Bond sure would be nice right now. Okay, we get the Roost. We get the Shadow Ball into Meowstic. Big damage. Got Psychic pretty well, and it's Sludge Bomb to finish off Haunter. See, we would have gotten the Dragalge there with a Destiny Bond, but that's okay. What do I want to go to here? I think I'm good with Lilligant. Try to Sleep Powder the Dragalge. I don't think I know its item yet, so it could have Safety Goggles. It could also have Terra Grass, but then that does make it more vulnerable to Oricorio. But I mean, what is stopping me from just Sleep Powder into Dragalge and another Quiver Dance with Oricorio? And if I do get Dragalge to fall asleep, then I don't have to worry about Sludge Bomb poisoning, at least for a bit. I'm kind of taking my time to do damage, but I think the boosts are good to have. Especially if it's Reuniclus or Clodsire in the back. So then I can take a lot of hits, as we saw in Game 1. Again, I don't have Protect on Lilligant, so I can't use that to scout for... Well, I can't scout for Safety Goggles with that anyway, but I can't scout for a Grass Terror or anything. They could go Low Kicks. Oh, they go Low Kicks into that slot. Okay. They switch in Reuniclus, so they have the Overcoat. I'll Protect Oricorio to cover for First Impression, I think. And... you know what I can do? I can Terra Fire Lilligant to cover for a First Impression. Click Quiver Dance, and then Oricorio gets Protect and Quiver Dance in the same turn, gets to +4. Or I can Pollen Puff something. But yeah, I like this, I think. Let's see. Whoa. Someone just sent me a news article. The premier of the Yukon Territory resigned. I have to find out what that's about. I really don't know much about the Yukon. Anyway. Yeah, we got Oricorio to +4. Lilligant takes that First Impression nicely. And I think I'm down to try to get rid of this low kicks. Let's just keep going for those quiver dances too. I'm thinking about a pollen puff into Reuniclus, but I think the quiver dance is more valuable. Low kicks is down. Oricorio is at +5. Banding Force knocks out Lilligant. That's okay. I get Gastrodon in here. Meowstic again. They have the fake out, so I'll yawn Reuniclus and protect Oricorio. They could fake out Gastrodon, but it'd be pretty cool if I land this yawn. I also could Earth Power Meowstic instead, but I think that's alright. If I do make Reuniclus sleepy, then I can focus on attacking the other slot next turn. I probably want to get a Roost first. But... And of course, there's a lot of hoping that I don't get crit involved in this. So it's certainly not over, but it's a strong position for sure. They also could set another light screen, which would buy them some time to fish for a crit. But again, if I get the yawn into Reuniclus, then that makes things a little comfier for me. Yeah. I'd comment on the Yukon while I wait, but I don't know anything about what's happening there. I'll find out after the game. Alright, Protect, Light Screen, Yawn, Expanding Force into Gastrodon. Gastrodon takes that pretty well with that special bulk investment. Dragalge could switch in for Reuniclus. I will... I can just throw another Yawn into that slot, even cover for a switch. And a Roost. Psychic. Okay, they stayed in. They don't get the crit. That's, of course, what they're fishing for at this point. I'll just Earth Power this slot. I can just yawn this slot forever, actually, can't I? And Air Slash this one. Maybe I should Earth Power. No switch. We get damage on Reuniclus. There's the Dragalge. Don't know whether it has Protect. It might. I'll yawn it and Air Slash Reuniclus. I think Air Slash should be a 2-hit KO into Reuniclus. From here. Want to see something funny. I don't know what they're cooking, but let's find out. Mud Shot into their own Reuniclus. That is funny. That is an interesting tech right there. I can just double Protect here, wait for Dragalge to fall asleep, and then close it out with Air Slash and Earth Power. Whirlpool. Sludge Bomb, Mud Shot, Whirlpool. What were you cooking with this? Oh, Light Screen's gone too. Nice. I wasn't tracking the turns. Gastrodon just misses the last KO. That means Oricorio will get this one to pad its stats if it connects. It does. Alright, that is the third consecutive win for the Halifax Masquerainment. GG's to my opponent. Thanks again for stepping in as a replacement coach this season. Third consecutive win, fourth win overall. 2 weeks left in the regular season. One more win in either of those should clinch a playoff spot. Might even be possible to make the playoffs if I lose both of those, but I don't really want to risk it. But yeah, things are definitely coming together a little bit more. I really do like that trade I made a couple weeks ago. Well, trade I made for last week. Judging by the early results so far. Oricorio has gone crazy in both of the sets that I brought it to. It's gone crazy overall in the league so far this season. Of course, the Iridescent Terapagos have another Oricorio form, and that has also had multiple big games. And both the Oricorio and the Haunter as my two fastest Pokemon by base speed and both being in different ways very useful special attackers with some solid utility options, have put in a lot of work in just the 2 weeks they've been on this team. So yeah, very happy with that trade so far. Really feels like the season is getting on track, but there are still 2 more tough weeks ahead, and I have a much better chance of making the playoffs if I win at least one of those than if I don't. So stay tuned, more to come.